how large a shadow here the resignation of Michael Flynn casts over this visit tomorrow. By all accounts, he was instrumental in planning the visit and drawing up the agenda for these two leaders tomorrow.
Well, it's, of course, a massive distraction, but more importantly, I think, for Prime Minister Netanyahu, his major concern, top of his agenda, is Iran. And General Flynn was his wingman on this, very determined to confront Iran, push back, increase the sanctions, put them on notice, etc. So without him there, without the ideological conviction that he brought to this issue, I think that Netanyahu is going to find himself a little more lonely in the White House. And on top of that, to his surprise, I think, President Trump has focused much greater interest on the Israeli-Palestinian peace process than he could possibly have expected.
So you expect then tomorrow, at the press conference that we'll have with these two leaders tomorrow, there'll be a lot of focus on Iran. That'll be front and center.
Well, I think that's the message that Netanyahu is going to want to focus on. But clearly there'll be some other questions. What's going to happen to the embassy? President Trump promised that on day one, and now he's delaying it. What's going to happen on settlements? What are they going to talk about on that? Because there, Netanyahu is under heavy pressure from right-wing members of his own government to increase settlement activity, even to annex parts of the West Bank. And on the other hand, President Trump, in an interview with the Israeli press last Friday, said that he thinks settlements are not helpful to his efforts to try to make peace.
Yeah, I want to pull up something here. This is a statement from the White House press secretary from earlier this month, on February the 2nd. The White House, in an official statement, saying it was not an official statement, saying, while we don't believe the existence of settlements is an impediment to peace, the construction of new settlements or the expansion of existing settlements beyond their current borders may not be helpful in achieving that goal. How contentious is this going to be when these two leaders sit down tomorrow?
Well, President Trump, as I said, has gone much further than that statement in an interview that he did with the Israeli press right on the eve of Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit. And Prime Minister Netanyahu was so concerned about this that he told his right-wing ministers in the cabinet who were pushing him to make sure that he didn't even mention the word Palestinian state or two-state solution. He told them that we have to be careful with this president. He's temperamental, and we can't afford to confront him. Those were leaked quotes from the cabinet meeting. So I think that Netanyahu is going to walk very carefully, very gingerly on this issue with President Trump. You know, it's ironic that this was the issue that helped to screw up the relationship between President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu, and here we are just in the fourth week of the Trump presidency, which was supposed to be, you know, a great boon to the right wing in Israel, and now they find themselves on the same issue of settlements, potentially at crosswise with the new president.
Yeah, critics have really highlighted the deterioration of this relationship when President Obama was in office. What do you attribute that to? Do you think that's a fair read of what happened here, and was it simply just a clash of personalities, of having too many other foreign policy distractions? What led to the sort of diminishment of that relationship, if you'll agree with that?
I think there was both. I do agree with it. I think the relationship was deeply fraught, and I think there were both personal reasons for that. Both leaders became convinced that the other one was out to screw them, and their relationship on a personal level became quite toxic. But beyond that, they had some real fundamental differences on substance, in particular about Iran, where the Prime Minister was very upset with the deal that President Obama and Secretary Kerry negotiated, and of course came to the Congress and spoke to the Congress behind President Obama's back against the deal, tried to get Congress to vote against the deal. So there was a lot of contentiousness, including over settlements, which was the last issue that plagued the relationship at the end there. They had started out trying to work together on the peace process. That didn't work out in the first term. John Kerry tried again. I worked with him on that, and that failed as well. And I think that Obama came away from it convinced that both Netanyahu and the Palestinian leader Abu Mazen were not serious, so I think that had an impact on the relationship as well.
What's your sense of who's driving policy here when it comes to the U.S. relationship with Israel, now that Michael Flynn is out of the picture? Is it Jared Kushner, who Donald Trump has said he would appoint to head up this. And how optimistic are you that he'll be able to make more progress than the previous administration was able to?
I do think that Jared Kushner becomes the key player here. He was always more important than General Flynn on US-Israel issues because he cares deeply about Israel. His family has a deep commitment to that. And of course, he's the president's son-in-law, husband of his cherished daughter. And that personal relationship is very important. Not just for Israel, but for the Arab states as well. Arab leaders care greatly about the personal relationship, and the fact that the son-in-law of the president is going to be involved in this definitely gives him some juice. And I think he'll be an important player in the effort to try to fulfill what the president has made clear is his aspiration, which is to be the ultimate deal maker, to make a peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And that's not going to be an easy challenge. I can tell you that from personal experience. The parties are very far apart. There's a great deal of distrust. But maybe Jared Kushner, with his relationship with the president, can move things forward.